Long time no see, my friends. MrHulthen here, and today we're gonna delve into some Baldur's Gate 3 news as well as an interesting conversation going on right now regarding game subscriptions. And we're gonna look at some words from Swen Vincke himself, the CEO of Larian. But first, let's dive into this new patch that came out, which is really just a hotfix, but let's look at it either way because it has a thing that's been fixed regarding Gale that's actually pretty important. So just in case you've never played the game before but you're planning to, this is a small spoiler. Okay, as you can see here, we can see that it says hotfix 17 now live. Let's check out what Larian has to say in their usual humoristic way. Hello everyone, we've amended some of the items below to make sure that we're continuing to remain transparent. Aha! The one thing that I absolutely love with Larian, and that I want certain other developers to try to replicate. Anyway, and can provide you with further clarification in relation to some of the fixes. Work is still ongoing to ensure future updates for Mac players will arrive alongside PC versions, and Mac players can expect to receive both hotfix 16 and 17 together in an update, which we'll be able to talk about more soon. If you're experiencing issues after installing the latest update, please check whether the issue persists with your mods uninstalled. Remember guys, if you have a bunch of mods, like I have like 100 mods or something, you might have to uninstall them or, reinstall them. Install the game first cleanly to make sure that, it doesn't cause problems. As mods aren't officially supported at the moment, oh, by the way, in case you didn't know, official mod support is coming, and it's cool that they're essentially structuring the sentence like this right now, so we know that it is coming. Some installed mods may become temporarily incompatible with new patches and hotfixes as usual. If the issue persists after uninstalling the mods, please reach out to our support team with your report. Thank you truly for taking the time to submit these issues to us and for sharing your feedback. For more details on the fixes on hotfix 17, please read on. It's so crazy to me just how many bug reports Larian must have received because they have released so many patches. We're up at hotfix 17, and those are just the hotfixes, not the main patches. So, I mean, they've had to read through a lot and test a lot of stuff and then write these huge patch notes. It's just insane to me how they've worked so quickly, relatively, ever since the game launched. Okay, here are some spoilers as well, as they mention here. First of all, performance and code. Fixed black and colorful visual artifacts sometimes appearing for 1 frame on PS5 when switching scenes or opening and closing UI windows. That's an interesting problem. Okay, so I had to scroll down for a bit because there was a spoiler right in the combat section, and their spoiler tags don't seem to work. The camera sometimes zooming in while jumping or casting projectile spells, the ability to walk through open doors when you click beyond them from far away, fixed thieves' tools in the camp chest or inventory of a companion who is waiting at camp not being accessible when lockpicking. And then on UI, we have safeguard shields saving throw modifier is now correctly reflected on the character sheet. Flow and scripting, here we go. Here's the little spoiler that I mentioned at the start. Okay, so fixed. Gale will no longer permanently leave the party if you don't offer him any magic items while talking to him, because he gets hungry like that. Unless you're abundantly clear that you don't plan on ever doing so. And then they say this is a temporary bug fix that aims to avoid Gale immediately leaving the party when players are unable to hand over an item. In hotfix 16, we began the process of updating a player's ability to access certain quest-related items, even if they were in the camp chest or in the inventory of a companion waiting at camp. However, the UI through which items can be donated to Gale has not yet been updated, which meant that the dialogue could be triggered if the items were available elsewhere, but would not show in the UI to be donated. This risked placing players in a situation where Gale expected an item from them and they were unable to provide one. That's a sticky one. With this initial fix, closing the UI or using any line other than "I'm not giving you anything, not now, not ever" will prevent Gale from immediately abandoning your party until the UI logic has been updated. If you're keen to give Gale the boot and don't have an actual shoe to share in your inventory, selecting "I'm not giving you anything, not now, not ever" will still cause Gale to leave your party permanently. And fix characters getting stuck in the story event, preventing you from controlling them after getting killed in the fight with Grim. Okay, so we got a bunch of little hot fixes here The biggest one, obviously, I think, is for Gale, because that was I guess you could say, annoying issue if you just say that you don't want to give him an item because you want maybe one of those items at the start of the game. You want to continue having it, but he just needs something or he will leave. This is a cool fix so far. Now, let's get into some drama. Here we go. So, I'm not sure if I should call this drama, really. It's just a statement by Swen, but I think it says a lot about Swen as a person and Larian as a company, and this is why I think it's so important to talk about it, because this is huge. When an industry leader like Swen Vincke goes out and says this, like whenever he says stuff about the gaming industry, you should be listening. Because, I mean, look at the game they made. Look at the prizes they got. Look at, you know, how widely celebrated Larian is as a company and Swen as a leader. Okay, so here's the thing. All right, Philip Tremblay, the director of subscriptions at Ubisoft, discussed the launch of Ubisoft Plus Premium and Ubisoft Plus Classic subscriptions and what needs to happen before subscription services become a more significant slice of the video game business. Ubisoft exec says gamers need to get comfortable not owning their games for subscriptions to take off. Unfortunately, this is something that has become more and more, in my opinion, of an issue where so many publishers and companies try to push subscriptions on everybody, and you have subscriptions out of your ass and you don't know what you're paying for anymore because you're paying so many things in order to use them, that it's like robbing people blind. It's just unfortunate that it's now infected the gaming industry to such a degree. And I really don't like hearing whenever stuff like this is going on in the industry. And now that Ubisoft is, you know, starting their own subscription service, it's just, I don't know. I'm not on board with it. But in any case, what Swen says here is whatever the future of games look like, content will always be king. Baldur's Gate 3. But it's going to be a lot harder to get good content if subscription becomes the dominant model and a select group gets to decide what goes to market and what not. Direct from developer to players is the way. You know, the old way. Let's continue on and see what he says before saying anything. Getting a board to okay a project fueled by idealism is almost impossible, and idealism needs room to exist even if it can lead to disaster. Subscription models will always end up being cost/benefit and analysis exercises intended to maximize profit. Very true. It always becomes a question of how much money can we actually make. Now, what I like about Larian and Swen is that they didn't really expect Baldur's Gate 3 to blow every other game out the water like it did last year. So they were definitely like caught by surprise at how successful the game really was. And they've made so much more money than they expected. Now, they were expected to make, you know, good money off of it and being able to still employ the people they have, but I would imagine that everybody got a fat bonus at the end of the year there. Anyway, there is nothing wrong with that, but it may not become a monopoly of subscription services. We're already all dependent on a select group of digital distribution platforms, and discoverability is brutal. Should these platforms all switch to subscriptions, it will become savage. Yeah, it's unfortunate because everybody's fighting for all the gamers' attentions, and everybody gotta, you know, you have a set amount of money you could pay each month to something. Like, most people can't really afford having that many subscriptions. I know even I can't. Like, most normal people can't afford having that many subscriptions. It is just, you know, it's insanity right now. And I don't like this idea of not being able to say that I own a game. Why, like, I pay good money for this game. Back in the day, $60 was a lot of money. It still sort of is for a lot of people. But the thing is, you can still use that, you can play that game whenever you want because you own it, you paid it once, and you can play it over and over again. Subscription services, you're essentially forced to pay a monthly fee to keep playing a game that you already, well, sort of bought in a way. In such a world, by definition, the preference of the subscription service will determine what games get made. Trust me, you really don't want that. No, and we've already seen that several times for several years now, that games are becoming a live service more and more, and so many publishers are trying to push it all the time. I'm so happy that BioWare and EA decided for something like Mass Effect and even Dragon Age Dreadwolf to become single-player games. They're not live service. Who knows if we might see signs of live service in the next Dragon Age game? We might, because they had to restructure the entire game. Allegedly. But yeah, I agree. We don't want to see an all subscription service type of industry. I can't imagine, seeing more and more games take that route when obviously Larian's model has worked very well, and other companies as well. Anyway, TLDR, you won't find our games on a subscription service. Here we go. Even if I respect that for many developers, it presents an opportunity to make their game. I don't have an issue with that. I just want to make sure the other ecosystem doesn't die because it's valuable. In any case, there has been some replies here, like Magulito saying, I don't agree with this at all. Discoverability has always been an issue. If you're not an established IP or tie your game to a popular IP, example Hogwarts Legacy, you're swimming for your life just like the rest. I don't see how releasing a game at full price would change that. Sven responds with, the point is that in a world dominated by subscription models, you won't have a fighting chance. You'll have to pay the management of the subscription service instead of the players. In my opinion, that'd be a big setback. Look, I'm not going to say that I'm completely well-versed in all the politics when it comes to game economics and whatnot, but I think I'll just have to go and say that I trust Sven's statement here and I see where he's coming from, and I think we should listen to him. And I think more people just should listen to him because he's honestly probably the most well-respected game dev CEO in the business right now. All right, fanboying over. That's all we got for today. There's a small update for Baldur's Gate 3, so if you haven't updated the game yet, just go ahead and do that. And then we had that little row of statements by Sven, which I just enjoyed reading because I just love seeing him having the same opinion as me and probably many other gamers. Well, all right then. Have a good day. MrHulthen signing out.